All right, look forward to a little video update. I've been doing these mostly on the YouTube channel, but I'm going to do this one here today. There we go. You couldn't see me. Now you got me live. But anyway, I'm just going to start off by playing this video from last Friday, and we're just going to, or last Saturday, and we're going to take it from there.
That this is a reclaim, and then this thing's got to go. I mean, at this point, for this to be a backup LPS, it just has to go. If that's what this is the last stage prior to expansion, in my opinion. If it's not, then
All right, now we're just going to kind of fast forward to what we got going on today. Obviously, that expansive move did come to fruition. We've been tracking this structure, this accumulation structure for a while, really since early September. I've been tracking this concept on Twitter as well as the YouTube channel, and it most certainly was playing out a little bit longer than I had anticipated. But what we were looking for last week came to fruition this week, right? My claim was we were in this last point of support region, okay? Looking at a Wyckoff accumulation type of schematic, and most importantly, like, forget labels, right? We're just talking about market structure, illustrating the behavior that you would see in an accumulation zone, okay? And forget the diagram up here, but I posted this on Twitter and shared this in the video last week as well. In prior accumulation, and Bitcoin loves these because it's counterintuitive, but also the price action induces a feeling that in these time periods is the opposite of what's going on, okay? And that's the beauty of these schematics. And we've seen this now 3 times in 3 major swing lows in the last couple of years with Bitcoin. And I checked my Twitter profile to see the other 3 occasions, or 2 occasions where it occurred. But the beauty of these things is they follow the same relative structure, right? You've got a selling climax, right? SC, and then you get this automatic rally. And then price just kind of starts ranging. Maybe you get a deviation out of it, right, where everyone says, okay, we're back, we're good to go, and then it actually reverses and goes all the way back to the bottom of the range, and gets people bearish again, and then attempts to make a move out, and then you break everything below it, right? You break all this price action, liquidate all the stops that are in this region, and then you get a quick reclaim test, and then the market turns. And that's what and that's the hallmark of the beginning stages of an accumulation. As we began coming out of this, as I noted, the market started telling me, giving me some tells, right? We've got a new swing, higher high, higher low. Market structure was broken here, folks. This is where the market structure was broken, in this LPS region, this last point of support. And what's the last point of support? Well, it's the price action, that's preceded it, right? That's the support. This backs up to the last point of support, as illustrated by the backup to the last point of support, BULPS. That's what that means. And then you've got a sign of strength, range, consolidation, and then expansion, okay? This sign of strength, range, and I noted it needed to move quick, right? If this was this backup last point of support region, as illustrated in the circle on the diagram, what follows next should happen fast, and that's what it did. But you'll also note on that video I did last Saturday that I was uncertain. You know, I said, look, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen now. But that Friday candle to me was bearish, right, on the news that there wasn't going to be an appeal. So I noted there was a second possibility, which was just a sweep of these lows back here and then go. But anyway, so far this structure is it's over. I mean, let me be very, very clear. This accumulation, in my opinion, is over. This was the accumulation, and we have ended accumulation. We are in phase E, which is expansion. Okay, phase E, expansion, phase E, expansion. Things from here, I think, are going to move really, really fast, guys and girls. And it's not to say that you can't get, depending on, you know, leverage in the system. I don't track those things because I think there can be a lot of manipulation and noise in that data, right? At some point, the longs are going to be right? It's like, you know, go look at Coin Analyze, and back in the 2021 run, funding was positive for a long time, okay? And so at some point, at key inflection points in these markets, the longs, the smart longs that waited the longest to long, are going to be right. And they're going to be right for a long time, right? Like if you longed 15 and your stop loss is at 13, no one came to get that stop loss. Just because there was liquidity down there doesn't mean it has to be gotten, right? There's a prevailing thought that, you know, the market's going to seek out the greatest amount of liquidity. Yes, in ranging environments, that tends to be the highest probability. Not an expansion, folks. When you're in an expansive environment and spot bidding is is the demand in spot is exceeded by the supply that's there to sell. That's where this concept isn't valid to me. Okay, isn't valid to me. So that being said, you know, still could get, you know, this area here, you know, still could get tested, and this could be, you know, again, a series of higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and that wouldn't be bearish. Okay, and that would not be bearish at all. So the path from here on out is yet to be determined, right? Just as I've been saying this entire time up to here, but make no mistake, in my opinion, we have entered expansion, and I think things are going to move very, very fast. I don't think we're going to get a lot of deep corrections along the way, and that's all I'm going to have to say about that for right now. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next chart. I'm going to just kind of increase my time frames. That was a daily chart. Now we're looking at this is the Coinbase chart. Okay, this is the Coinbase monthly chart, and you all that have been following me have seen me post this chart for a long time. All right, for a long time, and I've been very, very adamant about, you know, this cycle, in my opinion. And again, I'm defining this cycle as we're still in it, right? Where the market is going to surprise the most amount of participants. Typically, I believe we're towards the end of this current cycle that began back here, folks, back here. Okay, that's when this cycle began, and we're still in it. And this cycle kind of consisted of 5 big moves, and the last big moves in front of us, just when everyone's kind of thinking that this is a bear market rally or this is the start of a new bull market. Game mode gets harder as we progress. Using, you know, a book to tell me what happens every 4 years isn't gonna shake it in this investing environment. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that. I could be wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take this as financial advice, but that's just my opinion. Going back to this region, right? I've always contended this cycle is a combination of a couple accumulation events and expansive events. We've had 2 expansive events, 2 accumulation events, a serious correction that got people thinking the bull market was over. This accumulation event right, is just, to me, textbook. Accumulation, spring, SOS, sign of strength, consolidation above it, and go. Okay. What do we have? What do we have going on here? We have, again, very, very similar to me, very similar structure. And let me just zoom in to make this easier for you all to see. I know that's sometimes a challenge because we're all on our phones looking at this stuff. So I am aware of that, folks. Okay. Again, just a beautiful structure, and why you heard me, and the timing of these things is the hardest, right? The timing of these things is the hardest. I don't care. I don't care. My thesis hasn't changed. To me, we're gonna hit all-time highs probably next month, December. Wouldn't be shocked to see us over anywhere between $100,000 to $265,000 within 3 months. And I'm going to get into that in the next chart. But for now, again, what do we have here? We have just a beautiful accumulation range, well defined, a spring event, and this is where I was loving life. This is really where I was loving life, and it started increasing my exposure here to the Bitcoin derivatives, the beta Bitcoin derivatives, miners, options, MicroStrategy. I'm currently down on the stocks, I don't know, 10, 15, 20%, something in that range. I don't care. I'm not the guy to follow to tell you to bottom tick things. I'm generally early, let's put it that way, on these swing type of positions. But make no mistake, I'm not here to bottom ticket and sell on a breakout. What I'm trying to do in my investing is participate in what comes next. This is the area I'm looking to participate in. You know, 5, 10, 15, 20% loss to get on some of these derivative exposures, 5 to 10x. That's the price of admission. That's the price of admission for me. And so that is, and again, those numbers that I'm quoting, nothing's guaranteed. That's just my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion on what some of these things could do, and I'll get into that as well. Anyway, back to the Coinbase chart on high time frame. What I was loving about this price action is we saw what I call the time-based capitulation. This accumulation ended, guys, back in March 2023. Okay, over 6 months ago, that range ended. We have just literally, we're talking about a SOS, a sign of strength. That's what SOS stands for, a sign of strength. Consolidation above the accumulation range. And we were literally acting bearish here, bearish here. This is where you get the most bullish. This is where you get the most bullish, right? That it's the opposite of what the market, the way the market is inducing you to feel about something is really the opposite about of the way that you should feel, in my opinion. Again, okay, in my opinion. So what's going on right now, right? Oh, that's great, the past, whatever. What's going on right now? What's going on right now is this, guys. What's going on right now is this, okay? You've got this flagging structure that goes back to 2021, okay? You've got this cloud, and this is the Ichimoku cloud. Took about 30 years to develop as an indicator. Bitcoin broke out of it this week, broke out of the cloud, broke out of the downtrend. And for those of you that have been following my videos on YouTube, I've been talking about a big move is warranted to get above all this stuff. And what do I mean all this stuff? We had EMAs, SMAs, 30-week moving averages, all just literally sitting above us. And all the short-term EMAs were busted through this week, okay? And you want to call it, oh, it came on a fake pump? No, it didn't. No, it didn't. The fake pump retraced to exactly where it originated the day that the fake news came out. That wick was washed out. And so the market was going to go in the direction the market was going to go. We've also reclaimed, this is the most important to me right now, this 30-week moving average, okay? Look at what this 30-week has been doing since August, right? Since August, this 30-week literally has been a cap. It's been a cap, okay? But we were coiling between the 30-week and the accumulation range. And again, this is why I increased my exposure to the maximum limit in this range. This is one of the reasons, okay? And so that's where we are on the month or the weekly chart. Let me pull up volume, because volume is important too when you're looking at Wyckoff, and more importantly to me on high time frames. I want to get a sense for what volume is doing in all of these claims I'm making, right? All of these claims I'm making. So let's see what volume. Let's see what volume is doing. All right. Well, so we've got and this channel is here for a reason, right? So we get down to the bottom of this channel. It's the most bearish, and you have the largest capitulation candle from our COVID lows. That marks a spring event, candle confirmation. FTX low, we've got our largest liquidation event, larger than on Coinbase, larger than COVID, guys, larger than COVID. That's a spring. That's a spring, okay? Let me just, if this isn't clear enough, let me put that in here. That's a spring. That's a spring, okay? That's volume confirming what I'm claiming are spring events. And then another hallmark of Wyckoff is decreasing volume, okay, prior to expansion. Decreasing volume all the way through prior to expansion. All right. So glad that volume kind of confirms what we're talking about there. One more thing I want to pull up. One more thing that I do not think the market appreciates. And that is how little volume has traded in the region, the price action that is above us. Okay. Let me zoom in. And take a look at, I'm going to move this. I'm going to move my pretty face. All right. This is volume by price level. Okay. VP. And what are we seeing here, guys? Number one, there's a huge volume bar right above us. Huge volume bar right above us. So, you know, another big move is called for to really just get out of through 32 and start moving. But above that, let me remind you what's going on here, folks. What's going on here? Look at where all the volume was traded. Big shocker in what I'm calling the accumulation range, right? That's where smart money loaded their bags. How much volume is traded up here in these ranges, you know, that the folks are not even kind of considering right now? Not a lot of volume, not a lot of volume. So this is another piece of the puzzle that I need you to consider for my next chart. Okay. I don't need to go through this chart. This is very similar to what we just saw there. This is my count. This is my wave count. Binance chart. And folks, you know, the timeline may have changed. This might go into early next year. This could all happen before the end of this year. I don't know. I don't really care. The chart setup is just telling me that major impulses next, and I think it's gonna. I think the next series of candles takes us to all-time high region. Little consolidation here prior to the last move up. Okay, could overshoot. I could see the candle getting anywhere from 65 to 100K, the candles in a series of, you know, in a series of a few weeks. And the meat of this move happening very, very fast, leaving the most amount of market participants on the sidelines. Yeah, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed my view. And so we are eagerly awaiting what kind of comes next. All right. Next are the miners. I get a lot of requests for the miners, and I've gotten a lot of comments on how I think the miners are looking right now. Mind you, I was very public about my miner accumulation. RIOT, Mara, they're all these structures are very similar, okay, in my mind. And I began my accumulation, and accumulation is a process, okay? Accumulation is a process. It's not one day, it's not 2 days, but I been accumulating starting at the end of August and all the way down to where we are now. And just to preface this, the last time I accumulated at levels that I'm at now was in the fall of 2020, okay? Was in this region here. I'm never going to catch the bottoms of things. I'm looking to catch inflection points and participate in this type of asymmetrical upside, okay? It's not to say that's happening next, but that's what I'm projecting is going to happen next. That's, in my mind, the highest probability is what's going to happen next in these charts, in these names. Do your own research. I could be wrong. Don't take this as trading advice, but that's how I'm seeing this. And that's how I'm seeing this count on RIOT. I think upside is in front of us. The miners have been lagging big time, right? Last time Bitcoin was at the price levels it was at, RIOT was much higher, right? Much higher. I think it was in 16, 17. Yeah, I mean, much higher. But I'm going to get to a couple charts on why we're seeing that and what that relationship means. Okay, Mara, this is my count on Mara, my weekly count on Mara. Is the bottom in on Mara? I don't know. I mean, we've got an inverted hammer candle on the weekly, not this past week, but the last week. Not the following week, but the week after, a reversal candle like this. Let me zoom in. I realize you guys have told me this many times. A candle like this is where I'd expect to see some confirmation of this move. Now, the good news for us is, the good news for the miner bulls is what Bitcoin is doing, right? What Bitcoin is doing is great news. Bitcoin, for all intents and purposes, is just leading right now. And I mean, this is bearish, right? I talked about this in the video last week. You fell out of the cloud, you got a hard rejection, but you do have a bullish reversal candle setup, and that's what that is, an inverted hammer. And so what my expectation would be, if, you know, certainly more downsides possible, as I talked about last week. You know, the six range would be the lowest I'd see this going, given that we are in for impulse next. That's the assumption I'm making, folks. Okay, so in that frame of reference, that's how I'm defining the downside risk in the miners. Okay, and where's my support to that? Well, it's in technical support. This is a line that goes back 1, 2, 3, 3 points of confluence. All right. However, after what we've seen this week in Bitcoin, my bias is that the miners are going to absolutely rip next week. Absolutely rip. And it's a lot like what I was saying with Bitcoin in my video last Saturday, in that the candle close at Friday close under all the EMAs just wasn't powerful enough. It even lulled me into thinking that, you know, there's a 50-50 shot of a little bit of downside to sweep some lows, clean those up before we go up. And that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So Could this setup be doing the exact same thing here? And we absolutely get a ripper up to my 117 on Mara as the next major move here prior to a correction, and then if this thing doing the things that people just can't imagine is going to happen, but is in line with what's happened before in a name like this, that's certainly plausible as well. And that's my base case, if I'm just being honest, based on the action, based on what I've saw in the options. I have exposure to out of the money call options in a minor, a lot of them, and Mara or Riot, or I can't remember which ticker was down the most, 7, 8, 9% in these miners on that day, and the options didn't go anywhere. Literally, we're flat on the day. So I don't know. That's kind of a tell for me, but I'm not that well versed on that relationship. So that's just speculation. All right, next we're going to go to Mara BTC to talk about why are they lagging right now? Why are the miners lagging? Because the miners go through their own relationships with Bitcoin, and it's not always a instant beta, right? And it shouldn't be. It should be a little bit more difficult to predict. Let me just move this back over here. And all right, so this is a weekly chart of Mara denominated in Bitcoin, okay? And what I'm simply illustrating to do here is inform probabilities in an environment where the assumption is Bitcoin is going to move through an expansive period. That's all I care about. Now, let's do this. Let's do this exercise. And this is for folks that are wondering about miners. I hope this is going to be a helpful exercise. Let's start in 2020, okay? March 2020 through April, right? Through April. That was expansion, okay? Let's go to, and I'm just doing the two most recent, okay? Because going back further than that, the composition of these companies, the dilution, all that, yeah, I'm just going back to my two most recent expansions, okay? All right, so let's go back to expansion started with Bitcoin here, and this is currently, well, let me do this, because my claim is that this period here is going to be the expansion period. Okay, so going back to 2015, you see Mara against Bitcoin, and this is why it's always a smaller percentage. Bitcoin is my #1 holding. I don't mess with altcoins. I don't mess with ETH. The soundest asset in my mind, hardest asset in the world, is Bitcoin. Now, where I try to get cute, that's because that's what this is, and outperform Bitcoin to accumulate either more Bitcoin or cash, so I can buy more Bitcoin when I think the price is more favorable. And in this case, it's cash. I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do so I don't have to sell Bitcoin when and if it hits my price targets. That's what I'm trying to do here, because in 15 years, selling Bitcoin even at 100K is going to look stupid. In my opinion, it's going to look stupid. However, if we were to get to 200K very soon, it could most certainly come back to 30K. It can come back to lower than that. There's no rules. It could go. It could drop 80%, 90%. There's no rules. There's no set rule on what could happen. And so I always want to be prepared for any and all scenarios. Okay, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but here we're looking at what did Mara do during this expansive period for Bitcoin? Well, it has periods of outperformance, right? Where did it go? Here it is. Outperformance, right? And then corrections, boom. And then outperformance. What are we doing right now? Outperformance, correction, boom. And that's where I think we are now. Very similar to where we were here, okay? And some points of confluence that help inform this for me is where was most of this the price action in this pair trading in this range going back to 2018. The bottom fell out here. That's a deviation reclaim, okay? And then top of the range. What's going on right now? We had a deviation here, right? Little head and shoulders action going on here. And for now, we're back testing this trend line that goes back to 2015. My full expectation is either little deviation, but back to the top of this range. Okay, folks, that's where I'm expecting the Mara BTC pair to go next. That's the highest probability. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. That's how I'm looking at this. And the interpretation of that is that Mara is going to, or RIOT is going to, or pick your miner, is going to outperform Bitcoin in a very short amount of time, right? If you look long term, the story is pretty clear to me. In history, they bleed against Bitcoin, but at certain points in time, they outperform. And the key here is to try to optimize those certain points in time. All right, next. MicroStrategy. Oh, this chart looks just technically just marvelous. Last week I did a video. Your boy here got just a little bearish, you know what I mean? Not bearish, but just like, you know, concerned. But I guess that's the ultimate bottom signal, right, guys? Is when someone like me gets concerned with the chart technicals, like literally, that might be your best signal. And so what was concerning me? What was concerning me was after we had reclaimed the 30-week, we then the following week closed below it, right? And so I can deal with one fake out. I'm not a huge fan of two fake outs, and that's what we got. Whereas on the way down, again, we got a fake out above, and then the market kept going in the direction the market was going to go, as indicated by the sloping 30-week, okay? The direction in this market right now, to me, is very, very clear, very clear. And I'm just not looking, I'm looking, removing all bias, right? The majority of this price action has traded here, okay? How do I know that? Well, let me put some volume by price up. Let's see if I'm full of crap or what. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So let me get my face out of there. So the majority of this volume has been traded where? Right in that range. And so what is MicroStrategy? And MicroStrategy has always been, folks, and let me, before I get rid of this, how much volume's up here? Not a lot. That's clear skies up there. It's clear skies up there. And so if we look at this objectively and say, literally, you've got you've got this basing structure. Okay, better way to draw it. Okay, literally, this is where all the 90% of this volume, not 90%, the majority of this volume has been trading, and you've got a structure that is now retesting and reclaiming that 30-week. Again, to me, expansion is the highest probability and is next. And I think this move is going to be extremely powerful, extremely powerful. We also broke out of this flagging structure, which I like to see. All signs to me point in a very favorable direction for the bulls. Last chart, and I'm sorry this is a long video, but there's just a lot to go through. It's an important time in the market. Is MicroStrategy denominated in Bitcoin? And this tells us, this tells me a lot of things, right? Back when MicroStrategy started purchasing Bitcoin, you saw this you saw a bearish structure forming, but right, this rising wedge overshot, and then you got to break down, right? And then you got to break out and then a breakdown. Now, where are we now? We have a couple just very bullish looking structures. I've been tracking this flag for a while, for those that you've been following me on Twitter, claiming that was a flag, broke out, measured move of this breakout hasn't even been achieved yet. So we're flagging kind of again. You know, my minimum target here is somewhere at the 0.026 range. So, you know, Bitcoin gets to $100,000. That's $2,600 MicroStrategy. That's not a bad move. But at a minimum, you know, from a conservative standpoint, again, this price, the most of this action has been in this range. Okay, so at a minimum, I could expect 0.019, 0.02 on the pair. Not to say that it can't, you know, do one of these on the way there, but again, that's just, you know, the speculation at this point. So that's it, folks. That's it for my video. I hope you're all having a great weekend. Hope you got some value out of this, and buckle up for the next few weeks. It's going to be intense.